In this video, I want to share with you how we might be able to use security deposits and turn them into a rent payment for a tenant who can't pay rent. As you know, security deposits are used to secure performance against damages or unpaid rent. If your tenant can't pay rent because they've lost their job, then it's possible that using the security deposit to pay that rent may be able to keep the tenant in the home longer until we get through this crisis period. Is it legal? Well, that depends. You should always check with your legal counsel and your state laws before doing this. Who owns the money? Yes, the landlord is holding it, but who owns it? The tenant owns it. It's the tenant's money, right? And there's very clear, usually it's clear direction on how that deposit is to be handled. The only way the landlord can lay claim to that money is if the tenant owes something that is not paid, so rent or damages, generally speaking. Now, what we're talking about is rent that's unpaid. The tenant's unable to pay rent, and so this may be a way to actually help the tenant pay rent by converting a cash deposit into cash rent. Now, that can only be done if the landlord lays claim to it, right? And that has to be documented, itemized to make a legal claim against the security deposit mid-lease. Generally, managers like to wait to the end of the lease just because the accounting is cleaner and they can kind of just wrap everything all together. But these are difficult times, and there may be a way to actually use the cash to pay rent. There are literally billions of dollars sitting in trust accounts around the country in the form of security deposits that if this crisis gets deep enough, those deposits could be used to pay or make a one-time rent payment to get us farther down the road until we can figure out what's going on. In either case, talk to your counsel, document it, get the tenant on board. So if you're going to do something like this, talk to them, help them understand what it is you're proposing, write an agreement, an addendum to the lease that lays out the expectations. So make it clear on both parties. You're not trying to cheat anyone. You're trying to keep the lights on. You're trying to keep the property fit for human habitation. You're trying to keep the utilities on. All the things that make it a rental property, make it good for someone to live in. So to recap, the third step in surviving the next 12 weeks is to consider using the security deposit and applying it to unpaid rent. In the next video, we're going to look at how we can secure that lease once we no longer have a security deposit. Stay tuned.